Hello guys, we got a 16 game MLB slate for Tuesday, June 28th, including one doubleheader. There are actually a few games that we don't know who the starting pitcher is yet, so something that we just kind of monitor. First inning runs allowed, there are two. Both of these are going to be unders, no run first inning. First one, Diamondbacks and Padres, Zach Gallen against Sean Manaea. This just looks to be a spot where, first the game's going to be in Arizona, and both these pitchers are just really solid. Looking at how the Diamondbacks they do against lefties, they have a lot of left-handed bats like Josh Rojas, Dalton Varsho, Pavin Smith, a ton of guys that just hit better left side from, or bunch of hitters that are lefties that hit better against righties. And Sean Manaea, of course, a lefty. It's going to make it tough for them. Probably going to be using Jordan Luplow as a leadoff guy, which he's a specialist, but also he strikes out a ton, batting under 200, I think, still. So if he just doesn't hit a solo, I think we should be good here. But lefties for Arizona, they rank 27th. They're with an 85 WRC plus, fourth worst in the league. So that looks pretty good. And then Zach Gallen, he's a very good pitcher, by far the best one on this Diamondbacks team. Now, Padres against righties, you're going to see they rank okay, right? 96, but remember, Manny Machado's now out, so when you take out their best player, this number is going to definitely dip. So, just something that makes this one stand out quite a bit. And then the other one that, if you compare the odds to sportsbooks, it's going to be the Giants and Tigers. Tarik Skubal against Carlos Rodon. These two guys, lefties, they're just solid. They will strike guys out. They're good. And with how these two teams are, taking a look against lefties, WRC plus, San Fran, 108, and then Detroit is 97. So, yeah, Detroit, they do struggle, but they have a lot of right-handed bats, so that's why they will do better. But this is a very good pitcher's ballpark. That is just going to favor both these pitchers. So look at the odds. This is a pretty good value play they can find on PrizePicks for today. For strikeouts, there are two, and I think they actually pair really well. Or, of course, they do pair really well because they're from those games. But Sean Manaea, first one, over 5.5. Talking about Arizona, how they struggle against lefties because they just have lefty bats. And they have so many that they can't just platoon like, say, the Giants or some other team. But because of that, they're going to have to bat some of these lefties just lower in the lineup. And Manaea should be able to take advantage of that. He can K a lot of guys. He doesn't have any significant home road splits. So I like this spot for Manaea. I would not take it if it's 6 though, just because even though he has a good K rate, he's not quite like elite that I would trust him to get 7 in this spot. The next one is Tarik Skubal. I just talked about the Giants being able to platoon, but even with that, because they do it like every game, they still strike out a lot because some of these platoon guys, they will strike out, and maybe it results in giving up more base hits or like a solo or something. But when you factor how that affects the outing, yeah, earned run, but when you only take strikeouts, that doesn't matter. And so it's not like a hit and earned run's going to add an out. So you still have to continue to pitch to get those outs. They're locked in, of course, 27 outs in a game. Obviously, without extras, starters aren't going to get all 27. But when you're allowing a hit, just basic, how the game works. Hits, home runs, yeah, they suck, but we're not taking the fantasy score. So for the K rate for the Giants lefties, they are 8th, 23.4%, and I believe they actually have been striking out quite a bit more. 3rd, 25.6% actually in the last month. So that is important because the Giants, they've been dealing with injuries all year long, so now they're a bit healthier. That's something that we can definitely look into for the most recent month. And then there's some fantasy score plays, but these have moved. Like Zach Plesac got it in at 24.5 for the under. 22.5, I'm not going to touch it. Dakota Hudson, he's still, he's right here, 24.5. It moved around. I think it's because of the Astros. They don't know who's pitching for that game. Hudson, 24.5 against the Marlins. So Dakota Hudson, I target him like every game for the under just because he's not good. He has a high ground ball rate because he's a sinker baller. But you look at all these numbers, he doesn't strike anyone out. He's not fooling anybody. He gets hit hard. And, his expected ERA is just a lot higher because he's just been getting lucky. Sinker, slider, main pitches, splits, kind of reverse, which is actually a good thing because the Marlins have a ton of righties. And then finally, he was not lucky and continued to be lucky for last game. He finally got a little bit blown up. And he does pitch better though at home, looking at the splits. But of course, you do have to look at the matchups. And for righties for the Marlins, they rank pretty well. But of course, they are a team that plays better at home. So looking at this number, it's not going to be, I guess, that useful. 111 WRC plus 6th actually, which is really solid for the Marlins here. But that's overall. If you look at them only away, they're just going to be a lot further down. They're 19th. 95 WRC plus, a bit below average, but that's still, okay. So I'm totally fine because we're going against, or the Marlins are going against a pretty weak pitcher by the percentile rankings. So that's why I like it. And then the pitch selection. So sinker, slider. Sinker, I don't know if they just included with the fastball or not, but we do see the slider here. Marlins, they're 10th, which, rank, that's totally fine, I would say. That's negative 0.02, but if you look at all these teams, there are teams that are way worse. So I think it's totally fine for the Marlins here. And then the next one is going to be Robbie Ray. I got him 37.5. 36.5 might not seem like a big difference, but 37 is a pretty important number if you look at how the math does work out with the strikeouts or runs with 3, and then the quality start at 4. So I would still play this. I'm okay with it, but obviously just not liking it as a whole lot. Anytime a line moves, I just don't really like it. But Robbie Ray, a lefty who he's not terrible. He's a Cy Young winner, but he was just lucky. And you look at his numbers this year, his expected ERA is actually going to be lower, but his numbers, there's some blue in here. His K rate's going to be good, but he's had some historic walk issues in the past. A fastball slider guy pretty much. And taking a look at Baltimore for lefties. So WRC plus, Baltimore Camden Yards, they moved their fences back in the left field this year, but it's resulted in basically that park becoming a lot more pitcher friendly. So a 96 WRC plus, 25.6 K rate overall. But then you look at when they're away, their WRC plus is 110. They rank 8th, lower K rate as well. So that's pretty significant how they play better at home against lefties. Now that K rate, it's still high. Robbie Ray, he's going to get Ks. But what we're hoping for is that the Orioles are going to be able to score some runs off of him. And fastball slider for him. Looking at sliders, Baltimore, they are the 3rd best at hitting sliders. So that really suits them well. Kind of like a sneaky spot, I would say, because I know a lot of people like the K prop for Robbie Ray, but I think a fantasy score prop for the under looks pretty good here. If people are taking the over on strikeouts, that actually might bump this line up. So keep an eye on if this one does happen to move. And then for total bases, there are 2. First one is Paul Goldschmidt at 1.5. This is my favorite play of the day. Taking on Braxton Garrett, a lefty. Braxton Garrett is I believe a fastball slider pitcher. And then Paul Goldschmidt, he's an MVP candidate right now. He absolutely mashes lefties. He's going to get to face one here. And Garrett, hard hit rate, 42.6. He's not a horrible pitcher, but slider, his highest usage rate, highest used pitch. And he's only made 4 starts. Allowed 2 homers. And his numbers, again, they're not terrible, but he's not something that I'm going to be scared about. Also, lefties against Cardinals are just not a good spot. And then for Goldschmidt, taking a look at what he does against lefties, he's hitting 451. That's absurd. 23 hits and 10 walks. That's 33 hits and walks combined and 51 at bats. Like, we're not getting 1.5 hits and walks, but if we were, that would absolutely be a lock as well. But absolutely love this 1.5 total base line that we got here. And fastball slider, well, look at what Goldschmidt does, the slider. 14 run value already this season, by far his best pitch. Fastball second with the changeup. He's in probably the best spot for today, honestly. So, well, there's Coors, but at least if we say without Coors, even with Coors, he might be the best play of the day here for me. So Goldschmidt, at least for what we have right now, he is the favorite play. And then Corey Seager, 1.5 total bases. Yeah, we're going right back to him. This is why. Jonathan Heasley, a righty who absolutely gets demolished against lefties, of course. And Heasley, his numbers are terrible. The K rate, the chase rate, whiff, all of that, really low, hard hit. And his splits, lefties. 7 homers, just all from lefties. Corey Seager, of course, a lefty. He actually has been hitting lefties better this year, but homers, of course, we like what we see here in Heasley, or what Heasley, he's bad, so we like that he is, so we can take Seager, opposing batter against him. So just taking advantage of the lefty against the righty here for Seager. Someone just that really like to target, like Ohtani, I think Jared Walsh, last time out, they both homered off of him. But I also stolen bases, so I targeted this, kind of looked into this more for yesterday, and we did well with Tim Anderson. Of course, he stole 2, but for today, there are a lot of guys that do struggle and at holding runners, and those are going to be Robbie Ray, Carlos Rodon, Kyle Freeland, Ross Stripling, Luis Garcia if he's pitching, Zach Wheeler, John Gray, Luis Castillo, and Josh Winder. So Ray and Rodon are the guys that struggle the most, but Mullins, I don't really like that spot, lefty, so he has to get on base obviously first in order to steal, and it's a tough spot. Rodon, the Tigers don't really run, so I would say really the guys that you can target, Guardians, Game 2, and the Royals against John Gray. So that would be Merrifield and Bobby Witt, 7.5 and 7. They hit first and third in the lineup usually, so that could possibly be a double steal situation. And then Ahmed Rosario and Jose Ramirez. Remember, Game 2, they have a doubleheader today. 7 for Rosario, Ramirez 8.5. I think that's the better pair if you want to stack, but Rosario, he's not that good of a hitter, so the matchup might not be terrible against Winder, but I maybe just will go with Ramirez because I don't want to be relying on stolen bases purely. Ramirez, at least, he's a phenomenal hitter, so at least we can hopefully hit that one with just the hitting stats instead of having to rely on stolen bases. So that's going to be the video for today. Paul Goldschmidt, favorite play of the day. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Good luck on the slate, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.